Hi everyone! Happy holidays! I am Sanya Kuller, and in this video, I want to show you one of the neatest gifts that you can have, especially if you're learning Java. Well, not the Java cup of coffee, but something else. So if you're like me, when you're starting off learning a new programming language, sometimes you wonder how it all works, what's going on behind the scenes, or you try to break it. So you try to see what happens if I change something around, or what's really happening in the memory allocation, like the stack and the heap for objects. So Java Visualizer is something that has really helped me out, and it helped me kind of visualize what's going on behind the scenes or why certain code is not working, or even learn about variables and primitives and then about objects and wrapper classes. They have a tool for Python, and I have a video talking about a Python visualizer. But here I want to talk about a Java visualizer, and it's going to be able to help you see up until you get to classes and more advanced. But when you're starting out with Java, it's going to try to help you figure out what's going on and understand the key fundamental rules. So let's get started. And it was just so helpful for me. So I just hope it can help you. So I've pasted the link below so you can work with the Java visualizer directly. This is the Java visualizer. cscircles.cemc.uwaterloo.ca/Java visualize. So when you come here, you'll see this little cup of coffee. It's a Java visualizer. My brother loves Java. So it says to write your Java code here. So you have a public class, your public static void main string arg. So this runs the main method, but all the other things that you have inside this. And then you can add in command line arguments that you need if you need that. If the scanner is reading an input from the user, the scanner class, you can put that in here. What I tend to do is I also just by default click this. Show string, integer, etc. objects, not just values. And then we can even just say system.out.print. And you can see the difference between print and print line. Or print line, we can do this. Hi there. Welcome to Java Visualizer. And then we can even just have an integer, a random number is equal to 3. I keep using 3. There's some numbers here. Okay. This is some random number, and we can visualize execution. So the arguments that we're going to have is we're just going to go here, forward. Welcome to Java Visualizer. So it has args is empty, so maybe I should have gone back and gotten rid of that. Okay. So that's why what was happening is it was having a spot for arguments. So hi there, welcome to Java Visualizer. So when you start out, you can go all the way to the end of the code or in the program terminated, or you can go all the way to the first and you can see what happened. Hi there, this is a step 3 of 4. Line that has just executed is this line. And then they also tell you the next line to execute is in this color right here. So in yellow is the next line to execute, and the line that has just executed is this one right here. So it's this one right here. And then we can go all the way here, and we see we have some random number. So typically how the Java visualizer works is that this is the stack right here when you guys learn about objects and allocation, and this is the objects come here to the heap. And the way that I was taught about the heap is it looks something like this. That's the heap. So since we have this as kind of like integer, it's going to be right here. But for instance, if we went back and then we wanted to make this int integer random, like just say number object, we could even have it like this. And let's see what happens. So now we have 5 steps. So you can see that this, because this is a number object, it goes here on the heap. And then we can see if we have another number object, what would happen if it's the same value. I can call this another number. So they point to different integer instances here. So integer, a number object points here, and another number points here, and then random number is on the stack. But what would happen if instead you said that another number equals number object? If you just gave it the same value, what you would see happens is that if these two are the same, then what you can see is we have random number right here. Then we have number object right there. Then we have another number right here that is going to map to the same location. So another number saying, hey, I'm going to map to the same one over here. And then, you finish the program. So that was something when it helped me kind of learn about objects and what those different types are. It really helped me understand those concepts better. So that was very helpful for me when I was trying to figure out, okay, well, when you're assigning variables and you have them equal to each other, then it's so important. For instance, if I do something to another number object, I could increment it or do something like this. Now let's see what would happen. So I can multiply number objects. So this is multiplying. And reassign. So they both right now, we've just come here where both of them are now mapping to the same integer instance. And if I multiply this by 2, then this sort of diverges like this. So this was really important for me to learn those skills. So that was just sort of showing you just how variables kind of work and how you can see what's in the stack and the frame. And I think one of the key things I wanted you guys to notice from here was that we talked about the stack, and the stack frame is the same thing. This is the stack or the frame. And then this is the objects. This is the heap. And what you're going to notice is that in this heap here, we have a random number that is an int. It's a primitive data type here. And then when we have the number objects, these are wrapper classes for integers. And that's why they're mapped to these objects on the heap here. So this is a giant number here, and this is another number here, and these are mapped on the heap. So anytime when you see these numbers here, like these are capital integers, these are actually objects on the heap. Whatever is on the heap is an object, and that's different from having a lowercase random number that will just be on the stack. So we have the variable names here in the stack, but then they map to the objects in the heap here. Similarly, I had prepared this to show you guys. And so again, when you start off, you can always go back and edit the code as I was showing, and then you can also visualize it. You can even see linked lists here as well, which are other data types. So when we start out again with Java Visualizer, you'll just have this here, and you can have these options. So what I had done is I kind of populated it here with some examples, like an integer array. So this is an integer array that can only hold integers with 5 elements. And the indexing in Java starts at 0. So when I don't, and you'll see what happens in space if I declare an integer array like this. And I have a string. So we're going to walk through this example as well, but this sort of shows you how we can use Java Visualizer to see and understand our code better. And we can kind of expand this out as needed, and we can go all the way to the last, or we can go all the way, we can kind of skip ahead as well. So we're going through this right now. Int, integer array is new int. So it is an integer array with 5 elements. You can sort of see right now how this looks. They have these 5 elements. You can see the index is 0 all the way to 4. So that kind of solidifies your concepts more. So this one, integer array 0 is 100. That's what maps this to 100 here. And then next we did integer array 3. So we go to this address location 3, and then that is a 300. And lastly, I made this integer array 4 equal to -1. And if I had done something like this, then I would have seen, oh, let me try integer array 5. Like, let's say I was confused about something and I put this here and I just make this 231 or something. Then it's going to kind of calmly go through, show this to us. We're right here where we were before, but I added this in. So then it's going to say Java lang array index out of bounds exception 5. It's not able to do anything. There's no index 5 in this array. So that kind of just solidifies the concept. And then what you'll see is that you would have seen that we only did 6 steps, because if we try to go here, we're going to crash. So that kind of tells us, oh, wait, I think I messed up. Maybe I wanted to do that for 2 or something. Maybe I wanted 231 to be this. So what we can see is that it doesn't matter when we're declaring the order for variables 100, 300, -1, and maybe I want this to be the second one here, -231. We did not do anything with 1, so we can see that the default value for an integer array is going to be 0, because if it's lowercase int. And then you can also see what happens if this is instead a capital integer array. So the difference is, similar to this idea of a number of objects and all that, this int in lowercase, just being an integer data type versus an integer object data type, a wrapper class. So integer, and then integer array 2 or something, like just call it 2. Okay, I'm really not really creative, the name here. So we've declared the integer array. Okay. So I want you to see when we declare the integer array, the default values for this lowercase int, the defaults, because it's like just a primitive, it's called a primitive. And this is like a wrapper. So the primitive, the default is 0. And then the default for an object equals null. So when we first declare it, null is like nothing. When we first declare it, what you're going to see is that these are all going to be zeros here. And then we're populating it, has all these objects inside it for this integer array here. But then you can actually see what happens if we declare integer array 2. The same thing, it's an integer array, but it's got these 5 elements, and instead of being all zeros, they're all null. The null is the if an object does not have anything, it's null. So now when we put in 100, instead of 100 being here, 100 maps to something else, like all the 100 maps to another integer object. So similar to this, like where these map to objects on the heap, that's sort of like how this maps to an object, and you can kind of see that 100, this is 300. And then this is -1. And you can see how it's mapping to these, and -231. And then, so that sort of shows you in the space how these are different. Then I can have my name, because I had string, my name. String is mapping to the string object Sanya. And then again, I can also have a string message to print like this. Happy holidays and early Christmas. So I'm a huge Christmas fan. So we can already see that, I guess, pun intended. And now when I print this, the output, this is what the program output is. This is the console area where it's going to print. So you'll see that this message gets printed over here. That's where you print out the output from the program. And then now this part is what this is over here. Santa wish list array. If you have a wish list, this is kind of where you put it. And I'm sort of looking here at multi-dimensional arrays, and then that's a whole beast of its own. And this is, I think, as complex so far as you can get with Java Visualizer, but there's more you can try to do. But at this point, it was, I think, really difficult for me to also put my mind around, but it's really powerful things. So this is an array that has 3. And so when you first see this, I think this is a real advantage of using Java Visualizer, because when you see this, you might be really confused, like, how does this actually look in space? So when you look at it, you can see it's a new string array. It's multi-dimensional. So basically it has an array with 3 indexes, 0, 1, and 2. So this is 3. This is where the 3 comes in handy. And each of these actually has, let me show it this way, each of these is 2 long. That's sort of what this means. So it says that we have 3 spots here, like I'm pointing to 3 little arrays. That's what this is saying. It has, this one can point to an array, this one can point to an array, and this one can point to an array. And all of them are objects, so they've been initialized to null, 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 null. And then you can see that each of these little arrays will have 2 indices because of this being 2. So this is a 2 here, this is a 2 here, this is a 2 here. And then we can see how we can go through and fill this up. So this 0 will mean that we're going to this 0 array first, and then we're going to 0 here. And that's what you can see here. So 0 means this 0 here essentially says, like, let's go on this 0 and this 0 essentially take us to this array over here. So that's what this is doing here. And then what we're doing is we're just saying, okay, so we're now we're here, and we then want the 0th element. The 0 is going to be this 0 here, and that's going to be Pucci. And then this 1 over here is going to be this next location, which is going to be camera. And you can see that, like, that camera comes there. So that's what this is saying, like, go into the 0th array, and then from the 0th array, so that's what this is sort of doing. That's where those are taking us. And similarly, I just did these 2, for example. This part here is kind of like this, and it's taking us, it's kind of taking us right here to this part over here. And the red part was taking us like right here. So this is like a placeholder for array. So this one is mapping to this array. So it's basically saying, hey, I'm going to be able to map to 3 2-dimensional arrays. That's how you can interpret it. It maps to 3 arrays that have 2 indexes each. That's kind of like how this is working in this example here. And this is what Java Visualizer is allowing you to see this. So then what we can see is that, so this one is 0 is Pucci, and then 1 is camera, and then we can go and see, we can go forward and see how this one will be Teddy. We come to 1. And then the 0th address is what this is. This is Teddy. And then this 1 and 1, this should be Snow. So Teddy just wants snow. So that's just how you can interpret what's going on. And I could have done this for this other index, for instance, or I could just leave them null. So if I wanted to edit this location, then essentially I would have just said that, hey, this spot right here, this is just Santa wish list array. And then this would be index 2 and then 0. So the first one basically is telling us that, hey, focus on this one here. And see, if you hover over it, so cool, it even lights up. So it's saying focus on this 2 here. When you come to this 2, this is index 0. And then this will be index 1. So that's how we can interpret it. Like, so if I want to go back really quickly, I can go back and maybe edit it and add this in. And this can be 2 and then 0. And then the next one would be YouTube. Yeah, I can have this. So let me just quickly run through this. Yay, and that's indeed what we said. Santa wish list array 20 YouTube. And then this also shows that we can have doubles. So doubles have numbers in them, like with decimals. We can have a double, my favorite number, and that will take us to the heap because it's a capital D, which is different from pi, which is also the same value, but it's a lowercase d. So it's a data type, it's a primitive, and it's on the stack, but these are all objects here. And then I also want to show you another example of an array. So you can see all these objects and tries to keep track of them. So thing Sanya is thankful for is a string with 3 elements inside. So a little bit simpler than this. And this shows you how this first one is family and friends here. Happy memories is the second. And third is living with pets. It has those cute little guys I keep showing you, May and Yankee. And then, and there's so many other things, but I also wanted to show you an example of how this array has 3 elements inside it. If I want to do that, I can also do something like system.out.print. Please note has, and I can add in dot length elements in it. So that way we can also just see what this is exactly. It kind of, okay, so when we evaluated it, it says, please note that, the thing Sanya is thankful for array has, and this thing, it should be 3. 3 is what this is, has 3 elements in it. So 3, and that is indeed this length. So if you want to take the length of it, you can do this array dot length, and you can already see 0, 1, 2. So it starts at 0, and then it goes to the length minus 1 for the index. So I want to show you a for loop where we essentially are going from int I equals 0 to I being less than 3. Oh gosh, I plus plus. And what we're going to do is we're just going through this array over here, and I'm going to print out each of these. And that's what I want to show you. So this is what happens when you go into a for loop. So you see that as soon as we got in here, we have this I. Int I equals 0. And so we're going to say string current thing is thing Sanya is thankful for. So this current thankful thing is going to pop up, and it's going to look inside this at index 0. And it's going to essentially point to family and friends. So the current thankful thing is it's going to this array here, and it's looking at index 0, and then it's saying, okay, family and friends is what this is pointing to. So you can see how it points to family and friends right here. And then I printed out I plus 1. So the thing Sanya thankful for has this, but because I did this as print, it's all kind of merging in one line. So you can see, oh, this is print and this is print line. So this did not end a new line. So this thing is just flowing into this. So that's the difference between print and print line. Print line, and would have ended this on a new line, and then this thing would have been on a new line. So I think I'm just going to go back and make this a print line. Yeah, okay. So now I is 0, and then the thing I'm thankful for is family and friends, and I'm going to print it out right now. And now it prints out on a new line because we had gone to make this a print line instead of a print. The number one thing, so I is 0, but like at the time when I was printing it out, I made I plus 1. So this became number 1 thing because you can't have a number 0 thing. Number 1 thing, and then current thankful thing, which was pointing to family and friends at the time. And now, but what you see is that we had this current thankful thing point here. And that's all it did. We printed it out. Then we're going back and we are now updating I to be I plus plus is going to make I be 1. So I is 1, and now this points to happy memories. And then I'm printing out I plus 1, which is 2 thing is happy memories, which is what this was before. And then I'm doing the same thing for living with pets. Is the last part here, and that's what I had gotten when I had current I equals 2, and current thankful thing is living with pets. So I printed it out, and then I'm going back here, and then I'm trying to make I 3 because I gets updated by 1. But 3 is smaller than, so 3 is not smaller than 3. So we exit this loop because this thing is 3 on the top. And if 3 is not less than 3, that is not true. So what we do is we just, we exit this loop. We exit this loop and then we're done. And you can see that the I and all of these local variables inside the for loop have kind of gone away. So we're done. So that just shows you kind of like how, you can visualize your code using Java Visualizer. And there's so many things, and I want to show them to you and help you guys as well, because it was so helpful for me to learn these things. So I know this is kind of long, but I just hope you can see some ideas of how you can visualize code with Java Visualizer. And I hope that this was helpful. So I'm Sanya Kuller, and if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. Please reach out with any comments and questions that you have or any other suggestions. I'm always happy to help, and I hope that this can help you guys really visualize your code well, help you better understand how to do that. So thank you guys so much, and I hope that you guys have happy holidays. Thank you.